Hard to believe, but these buildings were once at the very centre of a kingdom that dominated the whole of Western Scotland for over 500 years. These people are from the National Museums of Scotland, and they've got one final chance to unlock the secret of that kingdom, the Lords of the Isles. What can the Time Team do to help? Over there somewhere is Donegal, on the coast of Ireland, and if you climb to the top of that little hill on a clear day, I reckon you can probably see it. Although not today, it looks nice now, but it's been tipping down, I'm absolutely drenched. Anyway, about 1,000 years or so ago, settlers arrived from Ireland, here on the Isle of Islay, and it was their descendants who became known as the Lords of the Isles. And for the past 5 years, archaeologists from the National Museums of Scotland have been digging on that little island in the middle of the loch. You can see why they've concentrated on the island, can't you? There's the remains of old habitations on it, it's close to the shore, it's very dramatic looking, but what they haven't had the time or the resources to do is look any further afield. And that's what the Time Team is going to do over the next 2 or 3 days. We're going to dig around the little lumps and bumps around the loch, because the National Museums have only got the resources to dig for this summer. After that, no more money. So if they don't find anything this summer, they never will. I'm going to find out exactly what Time Team are going to do. I'm going to dry off first. Mick?
Yeah. Hi, Tony.
What's the plan?
Well, we've got all sorts of work started all over the place.
Already?
We've got the geophysics going up on the mound there, and you can see the surveyors up there as well. And then we're going to be looking at the lakeside round here with the divers. They're going to be looking in the silt over here. We're also going to be over there where we think we've got these guard houses, where Phil and the others are on the other side, on the side of the loch.
And you haven't actually had a look at the mound that we're going to look at?
No, we haven't. Our remit has been to look at the 2 islands here, and we're coming to the end of that phase.
I don't quite understand, because the mound seems to me, as a layman, just such an obvious feature. Why haven't you looked at it before?
Well, because our remit really has been to stick to the 2 islands, but it's only really by being here that the importance of the mound has dawned on us. And that's, again, one of the reasons why it's useful to get in other people who can help you see things that perhaps you fail to notice because you're so much into the job in hand that you can't take a wider look.
David's keen for us to investigate the mound because he believes it could have been used as a ceremonial site by the Lords of the Isles, possibly the place where they inaugurated their leaders. Our plan of action is to carry on at the guardhouse site until we've got some geophysics information about the mound. What we're hoping is that the geophysics survey will tell us if there are any signs of buried stones or structures under the ground. The National Museums of Scotland are currently working on 2 trenches on the main island. This one, which is trying to find more evidence of medieval buildings or signs of earlier occupation, and this trench, which is positioned at the water's edge in an attempt to learn how the causeway linked with the island. Have you found something?
Yeah, we just found a little glass bead down there. Well, not a bead, small. Might have been the makings of a bead.
Just while you were bailing?
Yeah, if we'd been troweling, we might have missed it because it could have gotten coated with mud and stuff.
Where is it? Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? And we've only been here about 5 minutes. Obviously, 4 years of excavations here at Finlaggan have produced hundreds of finds. Brooches like this one, and harp pins like this. Pieces of pottery, all helping to provide a picture of how the Lords of the Isles enjoyed life here in the 13th century. This is Victor's reconstruction of how this bit of pot would have looked when complete. It's a sand tong jug which David believes would have been brought in with the claret from France. But all of these finds have come from the main island and the smaller council island. But what can we find from the mainland? Phil is working at the guardhouses, the geophysics are working at the mound at the far end of the site, and the divers are working in the silt at the edge of the causeway which would have linked the island to the mainland. But at the moment, they don't seem to be having much luck.
Well, the bad news is visibility is dreadful. There's a lot of silt coming down the stream and the peat's making it very dark as well, so it's, if we work here we're going to have to be very, very tight in.
The trouble for me, poor ignorant southerner, is that the Lords of the Isles is one of those Scottish phrases like speed bonny boat or you take the high road that sounds incredibly evocative, and I've absolutely no idea what it means.
Well, it all started in 1156 with this chap called Somerled, who was a petty king in Argyllshire. And he cast lustful eyes on Islay off the coast of Scotland, won a famous sea battle and drove the Norse out of Islay. And he made his headquarters here, had descendants who settled and established a mini kind of palace at Finlaggan. They didn't start calling themselves Lords of the Isles until the 14th century, and even then they assumed the title out of the blue.
So were there lots of Lords of the Isles at one time, or was there just one lord who ruled over all of the islands?
Well, from the 12th century onwards, basically one lord. In fact, after Somerled, died in battle against one of the kings of Scotland in 1164, the whole thing was split up amongst his sons. But one of his grandsons was called Donald, and from him, all the MacDonalds conceivably in the world, including the fast food bloke, are descended from that one grandson of Somerled.
Meanwhile, as the rain continues to fall, water levels continue to rise, making the archaeological going tough. However, Phil's pressing on at the far side of the loch. We're digging here because there are 17th century documents which tell us there were guardhouses here, housing up to several hundred men, protecting the ferry crossing onto the island. It's easy to forget, especially in bad weather like this, that these islands were a special place for the Lords of the Isles, so important, in fact, that some of them chose to be buried here.
Wow, look at that. That's brilliant, isn't it?
Quite an impressive collection, isn't it?
Yeah.
These were found late last century in the ruins of the chapel up there.
And this is brilliant, isn't it? The one in the middle of the...
Yeah.
Do you think the Lords of the Isles would actually have looked like this?
Oh, undoubtedly. A lot of the top people in West Highland society wore armour like this because it's very light. They were able to stride across hills through the bogs and heather. They weren't encumbered with plate metal. And you see the garment, the main garment is wearing an accaton, a quilted garment, probably made of linen or cotton, and stuffed with other material like wool or grass.
I can see, David, how that sort of padded clothing would be very effective against a sort of side swipe with a sword. It would sort of perhaps absorb the impact.
Yes.
But I can't see how it would actually stop anything going through it. Sally Ann is here because you're going to make us a replica of one of these.
Yeah.
It might be something that will become clear if we do that, so we actually see what it looks like.
Well, I think you'll find also, if we make it up out of linen, that linen does actually stop a sharp blow better than you'd think it would, particularly if it's stuffed with tow, which is the untreated, unworked linen fibres. It's surprisingly good. Now, this gentleman may have been wearing mail underneath this as well.
Ah, right, yeah.
Which would also have stopped the blow.
Yeah.
So, yes.
And have you got a volunteer who we can...
I have got a volunteer somewhere, yes.
Who is it?
Right.
Rat?
Chest measurements?
So, we have just 2.5 days to try and produce an accaton for rat.
Your arm.
All I can say is, I hope it's waterproof. Is it a Scottish name, rat?
It dates back to the sort of the mists of time when I was young and punk was alive, I'm afraid.
In addition to the geophysics survey of the mound, Carenza and Stewart are preparing an earthworks plan, recording any lumps and bumps in the ground, which may represent the outlines of old buildings and give us a clue to how the mound's been used in the past. Mick has decided it's time to check up on how Phil's getting on at the guardhouse. With him is Donald McFadden, local farmer and a member of the Finlaggan Trust, who were responsible for bringing archaeologists to Finlaggan Loch in the first place.
What we would like is a reconstruction of what the island had looked like in, what, the 13th, 15th century when those folk were there.
In fact, we're already well on the way to granting Donald's request. Victor's started work on a reconstruction based on the information provided by the excavations here over the last 4 years. We know there would have been a prestigious building on the council island here, and a posh guest hall and a chapel at this end of the main island. And access for important people would have been by ferry, which was protected by the guard houses on the far side of the loch.
How you getting on then, Phil?
Well, apart from this being the wet side of the lake, not too bad.
This is Donald McFadden from the Finlaggan Trust.
Very pleased to meet you.
How are you getting on here? Donald's very interested in the excavations that we're doing.
Well, not too bad. I mean, you might be surprised to know that when we arrived here this morning, this was like a swimming pool.
Well, actually,
all
water,
this
isn't it?
through here was full of water. I mean, that must have chucked it down last night. So the first thing we had to do was to bail the site out. But
what are you getting?
Well,
in
you
here?
see, we got quite a nice preserved building here.
There's obviously more walls under here.
That's right,
isn't there?
We got a nice turf bank there, nice turf wall there.
Yeah.
And then through the middle we got the central part of the building, and on the other side of the building.
They're using turf cut into blocks like building blocks, and then putting a timber roof on the top of it, you know, timber and thatch on the top.
And
And that's a traditional building.
It is.
Well,
It's
isn't it?
true, yes. And it's possible it could be a guardhouse being so near the water's edge.
Well, we got nothing to prove it at the minute. You know, we just don't know until we can get some datable finds, and it doesn't look like we're going to get them at the minute.
We've got nothing out of it at all. No?
Nothing at all.
Yeah.
Well, you can see what the state of play is, Mick. I mean, it's getting pretty impossible, and I mean, looking at it, I mean,
It's
it
not
looks
gonna
set,
get,
doesn't it?
It's not going to get any better, is it, for the next...
It doesn't look like it, does it? No.
I reckon we should break for lunch.
Oh, I reckon that's the best thing you've
Does that
said
sound
today.
okay?
I think you can have my permission to do that.
Anyone else feeling as dispirited as I am? Just damp all over. Any good news?
Well, actually, yes. We've done some work up on top of that mound that you can occasionally see through the rain. Both the Earthwork Survey and Geophysics, I think, do suggest there are some possible buildings. There's something up there that would be worth having a look at. The Earthwork Survey actually does show some sort of lines that might be the remains of walls, suggest there might have been a building there. This is the top of the mound here. And what's showing up as slight bumps in the ground is this feature here. And you can see this, there's a very regular turn to it here. That looks like it might be the remains of a wall of a building or something like that. It's a bit difficult to tell exactly what it is because there's rocks sticking up through the grass, which is natural. This is obviously interfering to some extent. We're at the moment trying to think where to put a trench, but John, what does it look like?
Yes, I mean the geology is difficult. We are getting correlation with the topographic survey, and this is the area where it correlates well with the earthworks. We've got a strong...
So that
is
this
this.
suggests a wall.
is the same as that.
Correlates there.
So how do we make a decision precisely where to put our trench?
Well, we've got this accurately plotted out, and given that the earthworks and the geophysics correlate on this anomaly, I mean, I'd have thought that was a good target to go for.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
To do, David?
I
What do you
must
think?
admit, I'm tremendously relieved about that, actually.
So are we.
And yes, a trench through that would be very interesting. And I certainly agree with you wholeheartedly that it doesn't sound as if it's something that's 19th or 20th century.
So we're going to dig where they correlate on the anomaly.
Yeah.
That's right.
He's getting
Good
there.
correlation.
He's getting there.
So Trench 2 gets started on top of the mound, with everyone lending a hand. For the moment, we're going to stop work at the guardhouse site. But the fact that we didn't come across any finds at all, not even the usual bits of 18th century clay pipe, suggests that it is an ancient site and could well be one of the guardhouses mentioned in the documents. Work on the Ackerton is now well underway, and every effort is being made to make it as authentic as possible. This, for instance, is incredibly smelly sheep's wool, which has been collected from the surrounding fields. And already our excavations on top of the mound are beginning to produce finds.
Wow. That's a bit more like it, isn't it, eh? Yeah, I mean that's...
Happy with that as
Oh,
prehistoric?
absolutely, no question about that.
Well,
I mean, is
aren't
this the only piece, or you got some more?
Well, actually, no, but there's a couple more here. A few
Well,
more
it's
in the
all
bag.
flint then.
Quick so.
I think we'd have had a wild whoop of joy if we turned up any pottery, would we?
No, I'm quite happy to have a prehistoric site up here. Oh, wow. Look at that then.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we don't want any pottery with this
It's
stuff.
all that same white flint, isn't it? It's a
Yeah.
nice little assemblage, actually. Isn't it? Still, I'd rather have something a bit later.
Cross, Ruth, look at that lot.
Fabulous stuff.
Where's this from then?
Well, you know, we started over there on the causeway in the reeds, and
Yeah.
the visibility was too bad, so we moved down to the council aisle, looking for the causeway there.
Yeah.
And I think we found the edge of the causeway, and also at the edge of it, the remains of what looks to be a midden, which is where all this stuff's coming from. There's still a lot down there. There's wooden artifacts still lying in the bottom waiting, but that's for tomorrow. But some of this stuff's really nice.
That's bone.
Mainly bone, isn't it? Yeah.
Look at the size of these things. And there's butchery marks on them too, we're sure.
Right. So these are food remains of animals they've chopped up, and yeah, this looks like chop marks, doesn't it?
Yep,
Yep.
I'm
Well,
sure
it's
that's
all
chopped.
broken through.
Yeah. I think some of
It's,
it.
something,
isn't it?
it's actually something that we've sadly missed on the excavation so far, is that we haven't actually had any medieval middens on
Yeah.
the island itself. So this is really exciting for us.
Excellent.
This is going to give you the diet once we can get some sort of date, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
it's fantastic.
And there's so much of it there. This is all from an area about half the size of this pallet, very small.
Yeah,
And there's loads more.
yeah, that's great. It's all coming down to tomorrow, isn't it?
Yep.
Great. Smashing. Thanks very much.
You know, you just never get...
Morning.
Morning.
It's not so romantic up here now, is it?
Yeah, well, we're getting some good stuff. Got that bit of flint, Phil?
Yeah, we have.
You know, we had some flints yesterday
Yeah.
up here, and David was pretty cautious because they get flint all the time. Well then,
Don't
Phil.
let it blow away, Tony.
What is it?
Well, it's what we call a microlith. I mean, it's a very small piece of flint, but it's been deliberately shaped. And the important thing is that it is a very diagnostic piece of flint.
What does that mean?
Well, it means that they can be tied down to hunters who were probably the first people who were living in Scotland, maybe, what, 8,000 years ago.
Well, how do you know that this is man-made? Because it looks to me just like something I'd dig up out the garden.
Well, can you see that along this edge here, some very, very minute, microscopic almost chips along the edge?
Yeah.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
Been removed from there, and in fact we got the same thing on this side as well. Little tiny chips along that edge. Now that is not the sort of thing that would happen accidentally.
What would they use that for then, Phil?
Well, these things are used basically collectively. You use quite a lot of them in a tool, we call them composite tools.
Yeah.
And they've always been accepted as being arrowhead tips and things like that, barbs. But now, I mean, people are increasingly becoming aware that they're used for drills, engraving tools, scraping tools. I mean, you name it, you virtually use them for anything.
So what sort of people were these?
Well, they're basically hunters. And let's be honest, what a better place to observe your game than up here? I mean, you've got a full view of everything. Like, you can have a look out at the lake, and animals coming down and what have you. Superb catchment area.
So are we really starting to say that this is a prehistoric site, or is it too early yet?
I personally think we're probably a bit early. That
One flint doesn't make a summer, you know.
But at the same time, flints that are up here, they haven't migrated here. The flint is likely to have started up here. It hasn't moved down. We're right up on top of a hill. No, I think we could have a Mesolithic site up here.
Right, so beginning of day 2. Last night I thought we were going to discover the remains of Celtic lords and ladies, and we've ended up finding some new Stone Age people. Middle Stone Age people, sorry. Can we get out of the wind and have a council of war?
Yeah.
So the decision's taken to extend our trenches on top of the mound in the hope that we can now answer 2 questions. Is this a Mesolithic site, and was it used by the Lords of the Isles thousands of years later? To speed up our survey of the rest of the site, we've brought in a satellite mapping system that'll quickly enable us to produce a large-scale map of the area. The Global Positioning System, as it's called, has already mapped the mound, which you can see here, and this may enable us to work out whether water levels have changed and if the mound was ever an island. Hiya.
You can see our new toy.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
How does it work?
We've got a series of satellites up in space that are telling us where they are, and we're measuring our distance from those satellites. And from that information, we can get our coordinates of the ground point here with respect to those satellites and with respect to another station. So what we're looking at is getting coordinates to an accuracy of 10 or so millimetres in plan around the countryside and within 10-15 millimetres in height wherever I walk with the pole.
So these satellites are sending down information about where they are in space?
Yeah, exactly that.
And if you've got the information from 4 or 5 of them, then you know where the bottom of the pole is?
Exactly, yeah.
So like a sort of electronic tape measure?
Yeah, so now wherever I go, I'm just measuring coordinates of the ground.
The GPS system uses American military satellites, which shows that Star Wars wasn't a total waste of time. Currently, all's working well, and it's beginning to produce a picture of the complete landscape of Finlaggan. All the finds are dealt with in here. Finds such as this medieval belt buckle, which was found in one of the National Museum's trenches yesterday. But of course our newest source of finds this weekend is in the midden discovered by the divers between the two islands. Now my understanding of the plan for today was that Mick was going to help with the underwater archaeology, but apparently there's been a change of plan.
I think we're probably decent enough now. If we get there, we can crawl and scramble forward.
Just onto our knees?
Yep. Just follow me down.
Despite the fact that the peat gives the water a browny appearance, the visibility is actually very good. Underwater archaeology like this involves using a suction pipe, which is called a lift, and is effectively a large vacuum cleaner which sucks up the unwanted silt and helps to keep the water clear.
How you getting on then, Tony?
Oh, it's fantastic. It's so much easier than digging on the surface. There's finds all over the place.
Yeah?
Little bits of wood, little bits of bone. I've got a stonking big bit of bone about that big. I don't know what it is. We can have a look later on.
Can you see the stratification that we were on about?
Yeah, there's certainly 3 strata.
Yeah.
There's the silt, first of all, which is very grey, and you have to be very careful when you tread it, otherwise you just mess up the visibility all around you.
Yeah.
And then below that, there's like rusty pebbles. And then below that, there's the actual midden, the spoil heap that we've been working. I can't believe I'm getting excited about a medieval rubbish tip, but there's not just the midden down here. You can see the big stones that were once part of the causeway which linked the council island with the main island. The material coming from the midden and the evidence being found in the trenches on the island all add to our understanding of how life was lived here in the medieval period. Among the finds from the island have been several harp pins, and Mary McIntyre, a member of the Finlaggan Trust, is pretty keen to hear the kind of typical instrument that would have been played in front of the Lords of the Isles 600 years ago. It's amazing how a bit of sunshine can transform everything. The whole valley looks glorious now, but what was it about these islands that made them such an attractive place to live? Apart from the exciting weather, of course. What are we looking for?
Well, at the moment we're heading out down the Sound, which is the obvious way in because it's a long sheltered inlet, and anybody coming from Ireland or from the southwest or down towards the Isle of Man or anywhere like that would have come up that way and used this long inlet to come in. You can see it in front of us now, look. This sort of jetty coming out, it's really natural boulders coming out in a line, look, under the sea. You can see it down there, look. And this is where they beached the galleys. And so we can see this long sheltered beach going up very clearly in the water. And running from that beaching place, coming right through, is this road that they would have used to get to the meetings at Finlaggan itself. So we need to keep a wary eye out as we go along, see if we can't pick up traces of that.
You can see the logic of it so clearly, can't you? There's this really quite welcoming bay out there, and then this very fertile land at the middle with hills and mountains on either side.
And let's not forget, it's a well-used landscape. It's got prehistoric stuff in it, it's got Norse stuff in it, and so if this place was already revered as an important centre, then you legitimise your own activities by establishing yourself there as well. Yes, it's underneath us now, look. Yeah, see, that must be it, running away through there, look, and then going over the shoulder of the hill down there, and it's heading down for the guardhouses that we began to look at to get the ferry across. So they're coming across this slope, and their first view would have been of this island, in the end of the lake.
This is a piece that Tony excavated.
Yeah. Is there anything else in with the bone, though, Nick?
Yeah, they're very small pieces. There's not so much big pottery in this, but these two pieces have decoration on them. Don't know if they come from the same pot.
Now, these strike me as being very interesting, actually. I've seen pottery rather similar to this coming from Ayrshire, more particularly from Dundonald Castle, which belonged to King Robert II. It's where he actually died in 1390. And these, I think, belong to quite fine jugs. They've obviously been covered with a green glaze and decorated with wavy line patterns, which I think was put on with a comb. And it's rather interesting to think that, if I'm right, that same pottery is getting to Dundonald Castle in the late 14th century and also here as well.
It's kind of nice to add to the idea of the council aisle with quite important people coming and meeting here and maybe drinking wine. And
indeed, yeah.
The change in the weather certainly cheered everyone up, and for the first time this weekend I can actually see the Paps of Jura that I've heard so much about. Our Ackerton's really beginning to take shape, and with the help of local volunteers, they tell me it'll be finished early tomorrow.
Need to adjust that for the arm seam at all, or is that okay?
No, I think that's fine. No, that should be all right. Not too solid around the waist.
The waistline, okay.
So that it can be belted in, because that's the
well,
hip.
It seems, yeah,
that's the hip that he'll be carrying his sword on.
Yeah.
But the big question for today is, are we making any sort of progress on top of the mound? Are we finding anything that would justify our spending so much time there? Phil and Carenza believe they've got some news for us.
Yeah, they're all here. They all want to see it. What do you reckon of this then?
What do you think of that, Mick?
Good Lord.
Well, there wasn't much on up here, so we thought we'd strip a bit more turf.
Well, it's either a little stone row or a souterrain, isn't it? Something like that.
Well, that's what we were speculating.
Yeah.
It might be an enclosed area of ritual significance.
Yeah.
It's a bit like a cove type of structure, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's a souterrain?
Well, a sort of stone-lined underground chamber for what? What do they use for?
Not normally for storage. They mostly occur in the east of Scotland.
So does it go around this corner here?
That's what we're wondering. I mean, it does seem to curve.
Can I walk on it, all right?
Yeah. Oh, not a trial surface, thank you, Tony.
Do I have a choice?
Yeah, Phil.
I'm not following in.
That might well be natural, that bit, Tony. We're not sure about that. But it's these big boulders here, clearly artificial, it's clearly a man-made structure. Can you remember, Tony, we just had these two boulders here that we thought might have been a wall. This was the first trench we opened. This is what Phil and I were thinking. It seemed to be the only sort of structure, or possible structure we'd had up here. And so we thought, well, bother it, we'll follow this. This is something interesting up here. We were following gut instinct. plus the geophysics and the
I was going to say, is this what we saw on the geophysics and the earthworks? Then this sort of line. That's brilliant, then, isn't it?
So how important is this?
Oh, very. I mean, this is fantastic. Whatever date it turns out to be, it's going to be something really
significant.
significant.
It's a major monument that we didn't know about before. It's completely undiscovered. It's unexpected. It's fantastic.
So we came here looking for Lords of the Isles, and last night we had Middle Stone Age.
We certainly had it this morning.
And now we've got this burial chamber from when?
Well, any date, prehistory, who knows?
From any date, who knows?
Christian,
we got a lot of work up here yet, Tony.
And it's 8:15. Let's go and have a drink, shall we?
Oh my God, yes, please. I don't mean to seem overeager.
Yes, no, I mean, I'm very pleased with that.
Would you like another glass of whiskey or two enough?
Hey.
Just thought I'd do a bit of scraping.
Caught in the act.
See you after the break.
Treasure hunter.
Beginning of day 3, and there's a howling gale coming from totally the opposite direction from the howling gale yesterday. Phil, I don't understand for the life of me why people would have built up here. Every bit of weather just batters us. Why didn't they build in the lee of this hill?
Well, you got to remember, Tony, that in the Stone Age, really in the early times, this area would have probably looked totally different to what it is now. Very, very dense woodland. So there'd be loads and loads of shelter. And
when you say the Stone Age, you're talking about Mesolithic and Old Stone Age. What were they?
Well, basically you've got 3 periods of the Stone Age. You've got the very oldest Stone Age, we call it the Paleolithic, and that goes right back to the first people who were living in this country, about 500,000 years ago now. And they were living here until basically the last ice age went away, and that we were talking there maybe 12,000 years ago, 10,000 BC. And the next group of people, we call them the Mesolithic peoples, the Middle Stone Age. They're still hunters, and they're moving around, catching animals, gathering fruits and what have you. And then at maybe about 4,000 BC, you start getting the first farmers. And they're the people who are responsible for clearing a lot of the woodland.
And you think that this is New Stone Age?
If it's any of them, this is what it ought to be, yeah.
So you reckon it could have been a big stone corridor with maybe earth over
Very
it?
likely, yeah. I mean, you just can't tell. In a lot of cases, a lot of this could be eroded away, the dirt, the mound.
So what are you going to do?
Well, what we should do, Tony, is take a section, we call it a section, which is just a trench running through the middle, across it. And that'll give us some idea of how deep the layers are. And we'll be able to see what this upright stone is doing, how well it's bedded into the ground. And it will also show us what these ones that are lying on their side are. And we'll probably take it about 1 metre across, something like that.
And how deep?
Until we get to the bottom.
Now that we've got a prehistoric site on top of the mound, Carenza's gone to have a closer look at a standing stone which is positioned here, and it seems to be aligned with the mound and the Paps of Jura.
If you stand on the mound, look at the stone, you see right onto the Paps of Jura there.
I must admit that when we were stood on the mound last night, I did notice how the stone was directly in the cleavage of the Paps of Jura, in fact. But I've been going through the documentary sources, and I come across the accounts of the travels of a chap called, deliciously, Martin Martin, in about 1695. And he records that at that time, at any rate, there were 2 standing stones 6 feet high on the east side of Loch Finlaggan. Now, the only snag with that is, of course, that this is at the north end as opposed to the east side.
I'm not really worried about that, I must say, Robin. I think that it's quite difficult to get your bearings hereabouts, and I would guess that this is likely to be one of the stones that Martin was referring to.
Except I would refer to this as the end of the loch rather than the side of the loch.
Well, I'm not too worried. I think that...
Well, I must admit that walking over here just now, there's some interesting sort of patterns in the grass. There's one area where the grass hasn't grown, which there could be a stone under there stopping it growing. And there's actually quite an interesting sort of circle of paler grass that there could even be a feature running around it. I mean, I wonder if we could get if David's interested in this, thinks there might be another one here, we get the geophysics in to have a look.
So the buried stones influence the type of the way in which the vegetation's grown over it?
Well, yes, because if there's a stone under the grass,
Yes.
there's less moisture and the grass doesn't grow as as well. I mean, there doesn't seem to be a problem here. Was it dry earlier in the year, David?
It's very dry in May.
Yeah.
Yes, I would like John to do this. I think it'd be well worthwhile encouraging him.
Our Ackerton's now finished, and Rat not only looks warm and dry, but makes a pretty convincing Lord of the Isles. That is brilliant. It looks much more practical than I thought it would be. I thought he'd just look like Rat dressing up as a pretend soldier. See if you can draw your sword.
Stand back. You've got the chainmail suit under there, so that even if anything penetrates the Ackerton, you've got
the sort of swords that we're talking about here are not designed to thrust. They're designed to slash and break.
Well, I raised the question when we discussed this earlier as to, you know, whether sort of clouting him across like that, whether, you know, you'd get through. But clearly that's really quite padded, isn't it?
It is indeed,
like
yeah.
that.
I think what
don't
is
want to bang
important...
you too hard, you know.
I think what is important, though, is this is a brand new one.
Yeah.
And probably after his first escapade out in the hills and his first combat, this would be quite badly damaged.
Yeah.
But he would take it back home, hand it over to somebody, and the next time it went out, it would have lots of repairs and patches, and it would just be serviceable.
What about these fittings at the back? I mean, it's I mean, obviously you've got to get into it somehow, and you can presumably undo all this.
Yeah.
And
Well, if I show you very briefly this, he couldn't do this himself, so he was basically at the mercy of somebody else.
Yeah.
But it's double thickness on the back where it wraps over. And he's strapped into this very, very tight. Now, I mean, when we put Rat in here, he was quite upset that we're pulling him so tight. Quite simply, if you held the body tight and compressed it, if it was hit, the internal organs don't move around.
Ah, right.
So the chance of serious bruising and internal bleeding was restricted for the fighting period. So he had a reasonable chance of getting off the battlefield in some state of survival.
And do we know that he would have had two-tone trousers or tights?
There is a lot of evidence to suggest that they were slightly fancying the colour use and different legs. If I can just show you, Rat, if you're not too embarrassed about this, the legs are actually separate.
Yes,
not joined.
Yes,
so it could,
yes.
it's possible that one of these legs is from another pair, as it were, that had been damaged.
So they're hose rather than trousers,
That's
aren't
right.
they?
Yeah.
So you've got one vulnerable place, Rat. Despite the bad conditions underfoot, the geophysics team are working as quickly as they can to produce a survey of the area around the standing stone. On the mound, Phil's hoping to find some dateable evidence as he digs deeper around the stones.
I'd fancy some carvings on the rocks, that'd be all right. Oak Springs Eternal.
Tony, I've just been looking through to see what other sites there are that might be the same sort of data around here to see how new this might be. And it's really exciting because I think you can see from this distribution map that this is all sites of the same date.
And these are all Stone Age? And these are all around the coast?
That's it, they're all around the coast.
And where are we?
And we're here, right inland. And there's nothing there at all. It's been recorded before. It's a lovely sheltered valley, as this part of the world goes. It has this it's secluded from the sea, but very accessible to it. And it is the only area on the island that in fact, on any of these islands, on Islay or Jura or Oronsay, that has any of this inland settlement at this earlier date, as far as we know. This seems to be quite profoundly altering our concept of the settlement on the island. If you look on the a few thousand years later in the Bronze Age, you've got a lot of evidence that people were living up here then.
They've all moved inland then, haven't they? Yeah.
But we've pushed it back, perhaps, well, with the Mesolithic evidence, we've pushed back settlement up here more than 3,500 years.
Nick, just before you go, how have you got on then with the weekend? Good stuff, important stuff?
Absolutely, it's great. It's a very, very exciting site. I didn't for a minute think it was going to be so rich, especially in 3 days.
Yeah.
But it's really tremendous stuff, and it's given a real insight into, certainly to me anyway, into the council isle and the sort of things that might have been going on there. When you look at the island, it looks very barren and very bare, but now that we found this material, I can anyway actually imagine the house with the door open, harp playing, the light coming out. You can imagine, sort of smashing jugs and people coming out in the morning, sort of throwing the stuff into the loft, and in goes all the old bones and everything else. And that's exactly where we're finding it. It just lies there. Because it's underwater, it's not disturbed. There's no bacteria to break down things, so tremendous preservation. And it would be very exciting to see what comes out of the site in the future. It's tremendous.
We now have the first geophysics results from the area around the standing stone.
1, 2, 3.
Good grief.
Well, I think
What do you think they are? Anomalies
large
or
pits.
Brilliant. Pits rather than stones?
I think pits, possibly a couple of metres across.
That's absolutely stunning.
I don't understand. What might it be?
Well, it could be a stone row. It could be a major religious landscape.
I mean,
do some more, quick.
Oh, we're going to do some more. I mean, the point is they seem to be pointing towards the paps. That's the real point of interest.
I don't think we're going to be able to finish this one today. This is big.
Big archaeology.
I better clean this loose up and then see if we can get them up here.
What's on the bottom of the trench then? What have you got down the bottom there?
Oh, there's more stones, big old stones, and oh my God, what's that? Oh dear.
I think you definitely got to get
Oh,
David
what?
up here. Oh dear.
Yeah, that looks like a bone right in a... Eh?
That does look like bone.
That does look very much like a bone. Well, you better go down to get David up here and get him up here pretty quick.
Come and have a look at this then.
What are you rating of that then?
Oh my God!
Yeah, no.
When they said it was something urgent, I thought
Well done.
What we got then, Phil?
Brilliant.
Bone there, look. And it's articulated, look, you've got the joint in here.
God, it's not long, Barry, then.
I mean, I don't know whether it is human, but, well, there it is.
Brilliant.
Hang on a minute, let me get my famous dental pick.
Whatever this one is,
I don't, yeah, you see,
it's a
you've
hell of a
got,
size.
this is the long bone in here, there's no question about that.
Yeah.
But then we got the joint there. Now that's a hinge joint, so that's either got to be, I'm sure that's an ankle joint.
You reckon it's an ankle joint?
Well, I think it's not, I don't think it's a hand. I mean, look at the size of that. That's it's in good condition.
Well, a lot of the bone down the island is very soft, very mushy, but of course with all the limestone around here, that's presumably helped.
Oh, all right. It's,
So is it human?
Could it be something like a piece of sort of an ox bone, the foreleg of an ox or something? That's what I don't think it is human, but I mean it gives you some hint of what the hell is down here, though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Why might there be animal bones down here?
I don't know actually. I think is the honest answer. Have you any ideas, Mick?
Well, I mean, we haven't really got enough here to see, have we? But it seems to me that the only reason, the obvious reasons are it's either debris from feasting and so on, which we've seen down at the island, or it's some sort of deliberately buried deposit for ritual reasons.
Well, this raises the question of what are we going to do now? Does it not?
Well, I think it does. I mean, my inclination is to think we can't get much further with this, given the weather at the time.
There's no way we're going to go on digging down in
you
here.
know, we've, if you like, we've done the evaluation work. This is an incredibly important site. Incredibly implications.
You've done an amazing good job in such a short time, and I feel that there's no way we can just leave it like this. I think we're going to have to.
I mean, it needs a more delicate, longer time
Yeah.
to work on it, doesn't it? To get the best result.
Isn't it always the way? Just when you find something really exciting, you run out of time. And apparently there's more to come. So this is the second printout?
Yes.
Have you found any more?
Well, 1, 2, 3 pits.
Yeah.
Do you want a few more?
Yeah.
Well, you tell me what you think of that.
Oh my goodness.
Good Lord.
Is it in the
But
same
the-
alignment as the rest of the geological
No,
strike?
it's not in the same alignment as the geological strike. Talked to Claire and we're a bit confused. It looks geological, but the alignment isn't right. So, you
so
tell
we're
me.
starting to get a
You
massive
tell me.
landscape of stuff here. We've got all this activity with stones and pits and God knows what up there. We've got the cairn or whatever it is on the mound. And they're a distance apart. You've got this huge sort of landscape of massive ritual monuments all at the head of the lake here.
It's a seriously big religious site, if it's a religious site, isn't it?
It's a seriously big anomaly.
Yeah. Of course, a lot more work will need to be done before we can fully understand the prehistoric evidence on this site. But the geophysics survey of the field does suggest that the standing stone may have been just part of a larger configuration of stones, possibly a stone circle like this. Or more likely, a stone avenue, which was aligned with the paps of Jura to the northeast, but also designed to provide an impressive approach to the mound itself. We started our investigation on the mound with a view that it may have been used by the Lords of the Isles, but what we've discovered this weekend is a ceremonial or ritualistic site belonging to a period thousands of years earlier. The time team view is that this was a stone-lined burial or storage chamber which would have looked like this. The bone is almost certainly cow or oxen and was probably placed here for ritualistic reasons. In addition, on the main island, the National Museums of Scotland have found this piece of prehistoric pottery. It comes from a pot that would have looked like this, and it was found alongside possible evidence of prehistoric roundhouses. So the big picture of this site during the New Stone Age might look like this, with people living on the island, but using the mound and the area to the northeast for religious activity. Our work this weekend has established that the area around Finlaggan Loch has been important to people from as early as 6000 BC right through to the occupation of the islands by the Lords of the Isles in the 13th century. So with all this new important information, David should have a strong argument for raising more funding and continuing the work here. In fact, it's so important that who knows, the time team may even be back, weather permitting.